Hello, welcome back to Science of Slink, the evidence-based pole podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rosy Boa, here to nerd out, as always. And we are continuing this week, or I guess with this episode, our set of case studies with freestylers. So today I'm going to be joined by Sarah, who some of y'all may know as Madam Daddy. If you've been to the studio for a while, we'll probably have danced with in the past. We had a really wonderful conversation about pole dance and freestyling and bodies and change and, obviously Sarah's experiences with all of those things. I hope that you will enjoy listening as much as I did having it. And yeah, I'll see y'all in 2026, getting into the new year. I look forward to it, and I will talk to you then. Bye. Enjoy. I am here with Sarah, aka Madam Daddy, who some of you may know from the Instagrams, or just being around doing pole stuff, especially in Seattle. And you've been dancing with me actually longer than the studio's been open.
That is true.
Yeah, back when I was also in Seattle and I was teaching in person, I was lucky enough to have you in some of my classes, which was a delight, and so happy for myself, very selfishly, that I've been able to continue that going forward.
Oh, the feeling is very mutual.
So, thinking about freestyling, for folks who don't know you, if you want to give a little bit of an introduction, I will tell you all, Sarah is a very accomplished freestyler, right? She's been in the game for a minute, really enjoys, experimentation, pushing stuff, trying new things. And I'd love for you to give people a little bit of a sense of your own freestyle journey and what it was like to go from not, right? Like baby freestyler, no experience with it to where you are now.
Okay, yeah. Gosh. So as like a little bit of context and background, like I've been engaging in various forms of dances for my entire life. So I've done like extensive partner dancing, like swing and Lindy Hop, and have done like many other varieties of dance, but I have never landed with the thing that I was like, oh, like this is my thing, right? Like this is the dance medium that speaks to me. And then I started doing pole in 2019 and was like, oh, this is it. This is the thing. This is what I've been looking for. And I've just been like addicted ever since. But I mean, when I first started, I think like a lot of people, like I was really focused on the tricks aspect, right? And like learning different moves and doing those moves. But then eventually it was like, oh, how do I incorporate these in a way that flows, right? And really connects them together. And like, I'm learning this vocabulary, but what do I do with it once I have it? And so the studio I was at, which you were teaching at the time, offered a variety of freestyle classes. And so the first one I ever took, it was actually me, the instructor, and one other student. And I had really like no idea what I was getting into. And luckily, I still dance with her today. The instructor was lovely and guided me through it. But there was a point in class where we did solo dances, and she was like, I know this is your first freestyle class. Are you comfortable doing a solo dance, or, would you prefer to like dance with this other person? And I was like, you know what, YOLO, we're just going to go for it. And I mean, the first time I did it was like terrifying. And even still today, I would say that like I still get nervous when I freestyle for other people, especially when I know that I have an audience and we're not just dancing in a big group. But like freestyling for me has been the thing that has been like so incredibly freeing. And it has just completely changed how I relate to my body, the people around me. It's just been a game changer. And so I'm like on this, we call it, right, our dance journey. And I'm on this journey, and there's ebbs and flows to the dance journey. But freestyling is like really the place that I've landed. And so I've moved away a little bit more from like learning tricks so much. I still take those classes and keep that stuff in my repertoire, but freestyling is the place where I'm like, this is really what I want to be doing. It just does a ton for my mental health.
Ah, yeah, and I think a couple things that you talked about are patterns that I've noticed in a lot of movers, particularly coming into pole and being really excited about tricks. And like, listen, tricks are fucking fun. We love tricks, nothing wrong with tricks. They do tend to be more straightforward to teach usually. Just as an instructor, it's much easier to lead someone through, here's how to do a spin that, everyone has done and you have really good understanding of, than it is to be like, and here's how to release your inhibitions and find freedom in movement and lack of self-judgment, right? That's a much harder thing to move people through. But I think something you said that, as you've had sort of ebbs and flows and things have changed, and obviously a couple things in the world are different now than they were in 2019, one or two.
Just a couple.
Yeah, yeah. The thing that you said where freestyle is the thing that you keep coming back to, that is absolutely something that I have noticed as well. And even for myself, right? Like even if I don't have time to do a bunch of technical training, like sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, right? It varies. I always make time to freestyle. And it's because it feels good. And it also is really a place for me to exercise autonomy. And I'm
Yeah.
interested in getting your take on this as well, because I know you have this rich dance background. And so much of our sort of Western dance tradition is less in the partner dance, but like a lot of it is like, here's what you do, you're following someone else's things. And that can feel a lot less vulnerable than being like, and this is my thing that I'm doing right now. Yeah, so I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that moment of transition from like, okay, I'm used to, I think also with partner dancing, right? You have someone else there with you who's moving with you, who's also giving you instruction. It's like, we're doing this as a team and not necessarily this is me on a platter.
Doing a
Hope you
thing.
like it.
I mean, like a big part of freestyle for me is like the artistic expression. Like I am a very artistic person naturally and have like those types of leanings. And I mean, you hit it on the head, right? That freestyling really gives you that autonomy in a lot of ways. And like, again, I've taken a ton of different types of dance and I have dabbled in ballet over the years and finally recently came to the realization that I was like, this is just not for me. It's just not something that I enjoy. And it's largely because of the repetitiveness, the rigidity. You're never going to be perfect enough at it. And freestyling, like, I can take things that I've learned from different areas of dance and bring them in, but it doesn't matter how I'm doing them, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, your arabesque wasn't high enough, your turnout isn't good enough. I bring those things in as a way to self-express, knowing that there are no limitations, and like that in and of itself is super freeing. But yeah, I mean, just being able to express creatively in that way and be like, I'm just gonna fuck around and find out. Like one time I was doing a warm-up and I just gave myself a rule where I was like, I'm gonna do this entire freestyle warm-up without touching anything in the room except for my own body. So I wasn't allowed to touch the floor, the pole, the walls with my hands. I could use other body parts, right? And that was just like a fun thing that I got to do because I felt like it and nobody had to tell me. And I fucked around and I found out. And I was like, ooh, there's some really fun, like interesting pathways that I found as a result of this that I might want to come back to later, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and really finding play, right? And
Yes.
yeah, and there's something you said in there, and we talked about autonomy, but also I'm hearing a lot of themes of self-acceptance and being like, hey, I I know those of y'all who are my students that have been in class with me or have listened to the podcast a lot, perfectionism is like if I could walk into people's lives and just like stab one mental health problem, particularly for dancers, that I think would help everybody. Perfectionism is on the list of my dragon slaying list. But yeah, coming out of that space of being told that you are being held to something unachievable, because that's the point, right, of the training is to push you as close to the unachievable thing as you can. And shifting to a space, and it's hard to do this. And I know that you are here because you've done so much work on it, where you're like, yes, I can see that I am not this other thing. I can see those differences and I also accept them.
Yeah, and it's
They're just
fine.
the case. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I love, oh my God, I love, love, love dancing with people who are newer in their pole dancing journey, just because like they bring interesting movements that we might not typically see for folks that have been training longer, right? Like we have certain moves and patterns that we see or we utilize in pole, but when people are newer, they don't have those things ingrained in them yet. And so they have different ways of moving that are super inspiring. And so I know when people are newer, like it can be really intimidating to freestyle dance or to dance with people who have more experience, but I love being in those spaces with them. And it's just incredibly beautiful to watch, getting to see their journey and also like learning from and with them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cross-pollination, I think, is a great way of thinking about this, right?
Yeah.
Like monocultures are just not healthy in terms of like larger ecosystem standpoint, but also like in the ecosystem of your movement, your art, and your expression. You want a lot of different things. And I agree, people who are coming in, and even if you don't have a dance background, right? You have the other movements that you have done in your life that are informing you and how you walk through the world. And those will show up in your dance, and that's good. That's beautiful. It's a mirror. It's a if we're talking about pole being a vocabulary that we build up, right? The rest of your life is what helps you take that vocabulary and write poetry with it. You're not a dance robot. I've seen dance robots. They're very off-putting. They're not people. I'm talking about actual robots here. I'm not making fun of any particular type of person.
I'm going to have to look up dance robots.
Oh, okay. Every so often, some robotics pro is like, I'm gonna make a robotic pole dancer, and it's always just like, anyway, it's awful, universally unappealing to me as a person who enjoys pole dance. But I don't know, maybe it's because I like humans, possibly.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you mentioned really enjoying dancing with new dancers, and I mean it's been a while since you were one, but what maybe little nuggets of advice or wisdom when you have someone who maybe is new to pole entirely, or and is interested in exploring free dance, or has been polling for a while and is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna dip my toes into this water of self-expression and freedom.
Gosh, so many things come to mind. I mean, I think as far as freestyling goes, just jump in and do it and don't be afraid that you're not doing it right or that it looks wrong because there is no right and wrong. It's a freestyle and it is what you make of it. It's your experience. And like I had an experience where I was at a studio locally in person and it was a freestyle class. And so they would give prompts and you would dance to those prompts and then the instructor would comment or give feedback afterwards. And I would consistently get the feedback, whether either like directly at me or indirectly at me. I always knew that, like, well, you should look at your audience. And like it bothered me so much that I just stopped going to that class because like I didn't want to tell the instructor because I didn't want to be flippant in class, but like, you're not my audience. The audience is me. If I choose to have an outward being be my audience, then great. And I hear that. But frequently, like I am dancing for myself. And so I don't need to look at you. Like that's none of your business. If I am giving you the gift of my dance, please accept it. But yeah, I think just jumping in and going with it and not being afraid to experiment. I think one of the things I appreciate about great dance instructors like yourself is that you give prompts that spark creativity and leave room for interpretation so that people can interpret those however it is, right? You're not saying like, okay, I want you to do like X amount of things in this amount of beats. It's no, like think about what it feels like to be fire or lava or whatever it is. And sometimes it can feel a little bit weird to lean into those things, but the more that you lean in, the more you'll discover and explore. In fact, I was in a class, I think it was last week, where I jokingly told the instructor, I was like, what if you just yelled different breakfast food names at us and we have to freestyle as whatever our interpretation of that breakfast food is? And it was number one, hysterical. I laughed so hard. And then by the end of it, I was like, oh, this is like really good core engagement because like my abs hurt because I'm laughing while I'm moving. But also like it was just interesting and like it really lit up my brain. My body like went into some weird movements I might not have done otherwise. So yeah, even if it feels awkward, like just go for it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. Um, Yeah, the thing that I think about like that a good freestyle class should have, A, it should be emotional component, right? It should be a place where you feel safe trying weird shit. B, there should be a gentle push, right? I want you to try things that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise do just at home by yourself in your room because like You could freestyle right now. You could be freestyle when you listen to this podcast. I don't know. You don't need another person to tell you to freestyle, right? So part of the value is that cross-pollination, doing new things. And then see, time to play, time to fuck around, right? Like I want to give you some colored pencils and like a nice, comfortable space to be in and a big blank page, and then you find out what you come up with.
Yeah, yeah. And I think like another thing that I just thought of is that like not you're not you may not get satisfaction or
Mhm.
what you were seeking out of every single dance, and that is okay too. Like I've definitely come away from classes where I was like, huh, I didn't love the way that that felt. And
Mhm.
like I am fine with that because it's also a teaching moment where I sit with it and I'm like, huh, like is this because of some other stuff that's happening in my life? Is it just because I wasn't feeling into my dance that particular day or I wasn't sinking in? But those are also super teachable moments and something that I lean into and think about actively. Like I still to this day keep a pole journal, and just take notes on things that I am noticing in my dance or things that I want to work on, whatever, which is another piece of advice. Keep a pole journal. It's like such a cool thing. Like I still sometimes will look back and be like, oh yeah, I was working on this thing, which maybe I'm still working on, maybe I've accomplished a goal, whatever. But being able to like look back, and also when you like film your dance, right? That's another type of pole journal kind of. And just seeing like your growth over time and maybe some patterns that you stick with or patterns that you break out of or things you want to revisit can be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% keep a poll journal. Yeah, and I think the point that you made about not everything is going to feel good, not every class is going to be amazing is a fantastic goal as well. And I would say just from a training standpoint, if what your goal is as a mover is to get better at freestyle and to try more different things, a good sort of like breakdown is that about 30% of stuff should feel amazing. About 30% of stuff should be like okay, but a little bit of a stretch. And about 30% of stuff you should be like, not for me, man. I tried that. Mm-mm. Like I had a song in a playlist recently, and afterwards a student emailed me and was like, "I did not enjoy the house music. I thought I might like it. Might we dance?" I was like, "Not for me." And you've learned something, right? It's again, I think the value of a class, the value of training with other people, is the experimentation. And if every
Yes.
experiment is going well and coming out correctly, just like as a scientist, I'm suspicious. Are you trying new stuff actually? And it's okay if you're not, right? It's okay if you're in a stage in your life where you're not looking to experiment and try new shit. But if you are, then sometimes it should be like, mm.
Yeah, and that's another thing I love about dancing with other people is like getting more music
Mm.
into my life and different music and dancing to things that I might not normally, especially actually things that I don't like, because that's not, again, if I was pulling it home, that's not the thing that I would put on. But since it's here, I'm going to lean into that and be like, okay, like I don't love this, but what's going to come out of it? I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, it's always interesting when a song comes on and I'm like, ooh, don't love it, but let's dance it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not going to say you're going to learn to love things that you don't love, but for me, just to give you an example, so hard for me to dance to 80s music, man. I don't know what it is. It just feels cheesy. I wasn't around for the 80s. I'm aging myself pretty precisely here. I wasn't around for the 80s. And I found it very, very, very hard to connect with for many, many, many years, like well over a decade. And it's only sort of in the last couple of years that I've been able to sort of like whatever it was inside me that was clenched by that has been slowly unclenching a little bit. And now sometimes I can have a little bit of fun with an 80s song. And that has been journey. It's been a lot of trying and it's just not working. But, I keep trying it and usually only when other people bring it because I don't usually bring it for myself. And it's taught me some things about myself as a mover and myself as a dancer and also just sort of what I like, what I don't like. And that's an important part of the exploration.
Yeah, I've been noticing recently that like people like, oh, words are failing me, like Chapel Roan, Taylor Swift are really big right now. And so sometimes those songs will come up in the studio. And I apparently do not enjoy dancing to like contemporary pop music. Like that is not my jam. And so like everybody else is just like rocking out and having a great time. And I'm like in my mind in agony. I'm like, oh my God. But I moved through it.
Huh. And you've learned something, right? Like if you're doing a performance, not a song you're gonna pick.
Totally.
Yeah, awesome. So I want to be mindful of your time and make sure that we're not going super long. But if you had one thing that you really wish that anyone interested in freestyling could know or think about or maybe try, a suggestion, what's something you'd be like, hey, folks, check this thing out, do this thing, think about this. This is cool.
Besides taking classes with you.
I did not pay her to say that. I think my classes are good, but
Shameless plug. Oof, there's so many things. Again, I think just leaning into it and taking the classes and doing it even when it feels uncomfortable. And then definitely like seeking feedback. You were excellent at giving feedback to folks, but I know that like that's not always the case. And so when it feels like psychologically safe and comfortable to do so, seeking feedback from your instructor or your fellow students. And it doesn't have to be like, was that good? But something along the lines of like, hey, like, what did you see? What did you notice? I love both giving and receiving feedback in that respect because we can often be like our own harshest critics, obviously. And when I hear from somebody else like what they saw, it's so illuminating. And oftentimes when I'm like, that didn't feel great, and they were like, oh my God, that was so beautiful. I loved when you did XYZ things. And I'm like, oh, oh. And it just like helps lift that lens of self-doubt and judgment and can really just like give you some insights that you might not have gotten otherwise.
yeah. Yeah, I find especially other movers, right? Because we fucking get it, man, are not always, but can be the kindest mirrors, and also the mirrors that show us the magic, the angles that we never see for ourselves, that we don't appreciate about ourselves. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Find a community wherever you are, find a community and
Totally.
yeah, connect with them.
Which I think is like, now that I'm reflecting on it, is like a little bit unique to the pole community. I won't say this about like all dance communities, but frequently when you're in like a typical, let's say, dance class, like you're not going to hear from your fellow students like, oh my God, that was beautiful, that was really cool, that looked like X. But I feel like in pole we generally speaking have like a very supportive group of humans, that like sometimes I'm in class and somebody does a trick for the first time and everybody else is like, yes, fuck yeah, like you did it, right? And I just like love that supportive community.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I this is gonna sound sort of weird, but I feel like b-boying and b-girling, and I don't know what the gender neutral term is, breaking, I guess,
Breaking, yeah.
is kind of similar, right? Like, because you'll have
Yeah,
people on the sidelines who like call out really cool things, and it's not all like we love that. Sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know any specific people, but like, Timothy McJones did that same thing in 1989, and you are clearly copying or whatever. But yeah, I do think celebration in community, again, with other people who fucking get it, is important. It's enriching, it's nourishing, it's uplifting.
yeah. And I think like the one other thing that keeps sticking in the back of my head in terms of like advice for people, this isn't about freestyle necessarily, but just kind of about pole training in general, is like don't overtrain. Been there, done that, have hurt myself. Yeah, it can lead to bad, dangerous things. So like please like take rest days, listen to your body, cross train, eat, drink, like fuel yourself both mentally and physically so that you continue doing the thing that you love.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a very simplistic way of thinking about it, but if you are going into each training session sore from the training session before, you are not resting and recovering enough.
Totally. Yeah. And like I've been learning the hard lesson just like in life recently, or relearning the hard lesson because I feel like I do this a lot where like rest is so important. Like I went through a few weeks at work where I was working like 9 to 15 hour days and my
Oof.
body totally crapped out on me. I got sick. I was just exhausted. I couldn't focus. And then as a result, I couldn't go to dance. And that sucked, right? Yeah, rest is just so important. And I think it's something that is very undervalued in our society.
Yes, absolutely. Something I've also been challenged with recently, especially resting before you go to zero. And especially, I know out there, my non-neurotypical folks, we love to push ourselves very, very, very hard and ignore our bodies. And there's a price for that that you don't want to pay. Oh, awesome. I think this is where I'm gonna wrap the conversation for today, even though we could keep talking forever. But thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. Folks who are listening, I hope you found this an enriching, enlivening conversation. You got some little nuggets of wisdom to take away with you. And if you're like, I should do some freestyling, do some freestyling. It's fun. I was gonna say we don't bite, but I've definitely seen we don't bite online. How's that? They're very difficult to bite over a computer. I can't speak for other venues.
Valid. No biting without consent. How about that?
Yes, yes, no non-consensual biting.
Oh my goodness. But
Uh,
yeah, this has been great. Thank you. And I hope that I get to see folks in class.